and welcome. Today for a card I have for you a pet sympathy card that I made recently using new products from Waffle Flower. This is the Rainbow Bridge die set for both cat and dog, and then also the sentiment set there that I'm showing you. I'm going to be making a cat sympathy card today. However, my sister's poor cat passed away after a few month battle with cancer. It was quite sad, so I wanted to make her and her husband a card. They loved their kitty very much. I had this idea to make, to watercolor with this card and to use the die cut to paper piece different watercolored pieces together. So I'm just kind of showing you the little supplies that I have going. I'm going to be using my Gonzai Tombi, not even sure how you say it, watercolors. I was originally going to tape my watercolor paper, I'm using Canson XL watercolor paper, to a clipboard, and I decided against it because I wanted 3 pieces of watercolor paper and only 2 would fit on there. So there's my clean water and a paper towel, and I'm going to use an inexpensive paintbrush that I picked up from, I think it was from Hobby Lobby. I'm just going to wash that first piece of paper down. So the goal to this, and this was not the first time that I had done this, is I wanted to color just very simple, blotchy sections of color, and then I will go in with the die, the Sympathy die, and actually cut the different sections of that little scene, the blue sky, which is what I'm painting right now in the top right, and then the different layers of the rainbow. Now there are 7 parts for color on the rainbow, and normally when we think of rainbows it's only 6, so I did pull in a 7th color for the rainbow pink that you'll see in a little bit. So I basically that lighter blue on the top is going to be the background sky. Now I'm painting the blue that's going to be in the rainbow and the purple. And what you're not seeing, obviously, because this is very much fast forwarded and it's very edited down, is I very frequently got up to change my water cup, my cup of clean water rather. And I would kind of hit it with my heat tool in between, and then I put a little bit more color on it. Not much of the color is actually going to appear on the rainbow, so I didn't need much. I just needed a little bit to turn out okay. Excuse me. A little bit of a stuffy nose this evening. And here I am with a pink, just kind of laying down different colors and kind of experimenting. Now I know that when this watercolor is going to dry, it's going to lighten up a little bit. So I do a couple different layers, and I would go do something and then come back. And in fact, this whole process took multiple days and multiple craft sessions to work on. So you're going to see like different lighting happening here and there. I'm going to be wearing different outfits. I would get distracted, something else would pop up. I'd have to set it aside. And then I would just, have to move this project aside to make room for something else. I had a couple of different like custom orders I was working on for customers and stuff. So you will see various days it took to do this project. So I have this beautiful green color right here, and I wanted to use that as the background of my card. So that is the 3rd piece of watercolor paper you see on the left, as I'm going to just be splashing it. And I wanted it to kind of dry a little bit and then kind of, fiddle with it after it dried a little bit. So I'm going into my other colors and laying a little bit more color on top. You can see a lot of bleed, a lot of runoff. I'm not worried about that. Again, the part, I only needed a small part to turn out okay. So I wasn't worried about bleeding colors or inconsistencies with the layer of the color. I wasn't worried about that too much. I just wanted to make sure that I got the right shade that I wanted to get. And again, I knew that these were going to dry lighter, so I wasn't shy with laying on the thick color. And the paint itself probably took me a whole afternoon to do. And I did do a prototype project before this, which took even longer. Here I am just slapping on some more color. And I think at one point I actually bring in a little bit of blue because I wanted, there we go. I wanted to, it was a little bit too pastel-y, I think, for what I was going for. So I wanted to bring in a little something to darken it out. And I may have cut out the footage, but I did at one point bring in just, and then the paint was a little bit too thick for what I wanted. So I brought in a little bit more clean water and kind of just threw that on the top. And I wasn't shy about using that heat tool, which I love. So now everything is dry, and this might, this the same, this might be the same day, but later that same day. And I'm going to take my washi tape up, which has been holding down my paper, to my glass mat here. And I wanted to do a little bit of gold splash on this background. So I'm just taking a little water and some of that gold. My rainbow panel, my kitty panel, is actually going to cover up most of that. So I was aiming for the outside. That didn't work out too well. So I did let that dry. So I'm going to be die cutting all of those little pieces now. They're going to be paper pieced together. The rainbow, I have both the dies, the dog and the cat. I am making the cat one, but the rainbow itself is the exact same size. So I'm going to be using the dog one as well to help me kind of prepare these so I can cut two of them at once. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to cut all of the different colors into different pieces. This is because each die is going to be adhered with some washi tape to a different color. And everything that's around it is going to cut out, is going to be stuff to discard. So I only want that one piece, and I didn't want to accidentally cut into a color that I was going to use a little bit later, if that makes any sense. It was just easier to have them separated because you know everything that was going to come out was to discard. And I did fast forward quite a bit through all of this. I do have a Gemini machine to my left, just off camera, which is too heavy for me to lift into view to show you what I'm die cutting. And it was easier for me to go in order, and I started at the top, and I went pink, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple. And so I die cut them in order so that I wouldn't make any mistakes. Because you have to line up the actual part that you want the color to be. You have to line it up and make sure it looks good. So here's that sky that I painted, and I'm taping the whole die to that background, and I'm going to save the negative space from that, including the tiny little pieces that will cut in between the kitty's legs. I'm going to save that, and I'm going to paper piece it onto my my scene. So I'm being very careful to make sure that they they stay there. So there's all of my background cloud, not cloud, my background sky and my rainbow pieces. I have just some white scrap cardstock here. I'm going to cut the whole die again in the white just to get a frame. And then I'm going to pull in a scrap piece of cardstock after this is die cut. I think I show it. Okay, so here's my white die cut. I'm just kind of separating it. And I'm going to use this as a guide to piece together. And here's a scrap piece of pink cardstock. So I'm going to use some of that art glitter glue, and I'm going to adhere it directly to that pink piece of scrap cardstock. You're not going to be able to see the pink cardstock behind it when it's done. So I just needed something to glue my scene to in the background. So I'm going to put the white kitty die cut on top of the pink, and then I'm going to inlay the paper pieces that I had, the watercolor paper pieces. Sorry. I'm trying to think of a better way to describe this. This card took like days to make, and it kept evolving, and my ideas kept changing because this card meant so much to me. And here I am putting in some glue, and then I will take and paper piece those little pieces inside the scene. This card meant a lot to me. My sister and her husband are grieving, and I wanted this to be really special for them. There's a lot of heart into this, and I wanted to make sure that I got it right. So I'm taking the larger sky piece and setting that in. And then I will take the different colors of the rainbow in order and pop those in there as well. Everything lined up super easy. It just fit right back in there. My sister's kitty's name was Tweak. My sister and her boyfriend, when they got their first apartment, got 2 kittens, a brother and a sister, and they were the kittens of my mother's husband's cat. I think they were the last litter of kittens she had, actually, until they got married, and then my mother had the cat spayed so that she wouldn't have any more kittens. She had many, many litters of kittens before my mother came onto the scene. And so I believe that the 2 kittens that my sister and her then boyfriend, now husband, took were part of that kitty's last litter. And they've had both kitties, and the little boy kitty, his name was Tweak, is the one that just passed away, and they still have Butters. Cute kitties. Very sad. I've lost pets myself. It's heartbreaking. So I have finished piecing all of my things in, and this glue dries really fast. So far, I'm pretty impressed with it. And I'm just going to take a pair of scissors and I'm going to cut off all that extra pink. So I wanted to jazz it up. It needed more sparkle. So I've taken a scrap piece of gold cardstock. This is from a My Favorite Things kit. It's a no mess glitter cardstock. It's fabulous. I'm going to take that and pop it out, and I'm going to put that over my frame, and it's actually going to cover the white. And I really loved the way that it turned out. It brought a little something extra. It definitely kicked it up a notch. The plain white looked nice, but that cardstock really it made the colors pop. It looks gorgeous. So I'm just going to take a little bit more glue and put that right on the frame, and then I'm going to stick the glitter cardstock on top, and then I will cut off the pink. I forgot what order I've done stuff. And this whole panel is going to kind of be my focal point on the card. And it will go on top of that light green spattered background that you saw me make alongside this, but it's not time for that yet. And I'm just cutting off the pink, as I said I would, but forgot when I did. That's the problem with editing a video and then doing the voiceover at a much later time. All right, so here things get a little bit weird. I heat embossed a couple of sentiments because I was just testing out which ones that I wanted to use, and I didn't realize when I was filming. I must have moved my glass mat down or something. I didn't realize that literally all of the action gets cut out. So I did try to fast forward through quite a bit of this. Hopefully we don't really need to see too much heat embossing and cutting down of a sentiment strip. I took another piece of white scrap cardstock, and I heat embossed a sentiment on it using some aqua tinsel embossing glitter from Ranger, which is gorgeous. And now here I am cutting down that background. I'm just cutting it down to fit on the front of an A2 card, a little bit smaller than the front of an A2 card, so I had a nice white border. I was originally going to do another piece of glitter cardstock and then have the green piece on top of that, but I thought it would have been too much. It's a Sympathy card, not a nightclub. So here I am with a sentiment, and then I had to heat emboss another sentiment on black using some gold embossing powder from Hero Arts, and it said, "Until you meet again," and then at the Rainbow Bridge. Now at this point, I'm going to take, I have this package of like mangled foam squares that I'm trying to use up, so that I can just throw the darn thing away. I'm sick of it. It keeps getting caught in my drawer as I close it, and that's how it got mangled. So I'm using those to prop up the focal point. And here is me deciding that I don't like the white. I did not like the white sentiment on the card. I liked the way that the black looked. I thought it looked a little bit more respectful and classy, I guess you could say. So I'm going to heat emboss it again, but I'm going to do it on black this time. And I'm going to use that same aqua tinsel embossing powder from Hero Arts. And I'm using Versamark ink. And I really liked the way that this turned out. Something, I know the card base is white, but just something about the white sentiment was just rubbing me the wrong way. And I just wanted to see what it would look like on black. And I really liked the way that looked. And I decided to fussy cut it out this time and cut kind of close to the letters. I thought that looked a little bit nicer than the just a straight line, because we already have a straight line down at the bottom with the at the rainbow bridge. And I'm using my Tim Holtz snips to just cut that. And I have a backup sentiment that I do end up using in another card that I'll show at the end of the video. But I couldn't, at this point, I still couldn't decide on what I wanted to do. And I thought that looked a lot better. It sort of framed the frame a little bit better. So I'm going to stick a little bit of foam behind the sentiments as well, and then a little bit of glue on that bottom strip there and get those on the card. And I really liked the way that this turned out with the colors, but it's not quite done yet. It needed a little bit more of something. So I went into my fabulous bucket or container of little containers of bling, and I grabbed a couple of clear iridescent gems from the Ink Road, and I glued those to the card as well. It gave it just a little bit more sparkle. But not too much. However, in retrospect, I probably would have gone, if I could do this again, I would go with a clear gem and not an iridescent one. But I think it looks fabulous, but I probably would have gone just straight clear instead of iridescent next time. And there we are. There is the card. I'd like to say that I had a lot of fun with the project. Here's the other card that I made. I made a dog one as well, and I found a use for the other sentiment there. And again, that is the Waffle Flower Rainbow Bridge stamp set and dies. Thanks so much. I'm going to have links to products down below if you have any questions or whatnot. Let me know. Thank you. Bye.